Shabbat Shalom to all those who are here in our sanctuary and also to all those who are following our service online. The fourth Kabbalat Shabbat service of the month since July has been working towards being a lay-led service or having lay leaders. Last month we had one person joining me on the bima. This month we're going to have 4 or 5 people joining me on the bima. This tradition continues to grow, and so if you would like, as you see this service, if you think, yeah, I could actually help lead a prayer, or I could do a reading, let me know, and then we'll put you down for next month as well. We start on page 8 of our Siddur. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. We turn to the top of page 10 to celebrate how good it is that we can all be here together. Hinei ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. For those who are following our service online, we're about to light these Shabbat candles. And so if you have candles at home, we invite you to light them with us. But we will light candles on behalf of everyone present and everyone online if you wish. And you can find the blessing for the lighting of the Shabbat candles on page 2 of our Siddur. At this point in our service, our custom is to welcome our visitors and to welcome each other. And so before we turn to each other and welcome each other, we invite anyone who is visiting, and I didn't let you know beforehand, sorry, anyone who is visiting, if they wish to please rise, share their name and share where they're from, or anyone who hasn't been here in a long time, again, similarly, feel free to stand to share your name and where you're from if you wish. Welcome. A whole St. John's contingent, welcome, welcome. So we turn to those around us, in front of us, to the left of us, to the right of us. If you need to move to find somebody you may not know, to introduce yourselves and to wish each other Shabbat Shalom. Okay, where's Seth? Oh, Seth. So having introduced, having welcomed our visitors and welcomed each other, we welcome Shabbat. We invite you to rise as you are able. We're going to sing the chorus. We're going to sing verses 1, 2, and 5 of Lecha Adodi. And then the custom for our community is to turn towards the doors for the final verse, verse 9, on pages 20 and 21. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'zacho v'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, Ushmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha, Ki makor habaracha, Merosh mikerem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'mashavat chila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitorari, hitorari, Ki va'orech kumi ori, uri, Shidaberi kavod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha uvtzola, Tochem unei am segula. Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please be seated as we turn to page 25.
And Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. Coming upon a certain place, he passed the night there, for the sun was setting. Taking one of the stones of the place, he made it his headrest as he lay down in that place. He dreamed, and lo, a ladder was set on the ground, with its top reaching to heaven, and lo, angels of God going up and coming down on it. And lo, Adonai stood up above it and said, I, Adonai, am the God of your father Abraham and God of Isaac. The land on which you are lying I will give to you and to your descendants. And your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread out to the west and the east and the north and the south. Through you and your descendants all the families of the earth shall find blessing. And here I am with you. I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this soil. I will not let go of you as long as I have yet to do what I have promised you. Waking from his sleep, Jacob said, Truly Adonai is in this place, and I did not know it. He was awestruck and said, How awe-inspiring is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven.
With those words in mind, this being the house of God, or one of the houses of God, we turn to page 26. We invite you to rise as you are able for Chatzi Kaddish, And that will lead us into Baruch Hu, which has a slightly different tune, one that we did a number of months ago. We did for a while, haven't done for a few months. It's the Am I Awake Baruch Hu. Before that, Chatzi Kaddish on page 26.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah Ba'alma divrach hirutei V'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael Ba'gala Ba'gala u'v'zman kariv V'yimeru
Amen.
Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevarach Le'olam olam le'almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel Shemei dekudashah berichu Le'elam yilchu berchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma V'yimeru Amen.
We remain standing for Baruch Hu with an introductory meditation reflection that is sung. Baruch Hu itself is on page 28. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Hu et Adonai Ha'mevorach. Baruch Adonai Ha'mevorach Le'olam va'ed Le'olam va'ed Ya la 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 Ya la 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 la. Please be seated as we turn to the middle of page 30 and read together.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time, and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness, and darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us in eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings longing evening.
Adonai, Ha'ariv, Haravim. And before Shema, which starts on page 34, Ahavat Olam on page 32. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, שיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגן יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. אהבתך אל תשים ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Either seated or standing according to your custom, together we recite Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kavod Malachuto, Leolam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות עהדיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem, amen. For those who are standing, please feel free to be seated as we turn to page 39 and read together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. On page 41, sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, the gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. And on page 43, tefillah, the central prayer of our service, essentially starts on page 46. Traditionally starts on page 48 with the first paragraph of tefillah, but the passage on page 46 has for 2,000 years been the opening reflection, meditation that leads us into tefillah and is essentially counted as tefillah. We invite you to rise as you are able for our tefillah, which starts on page 46. And on page 55, our tefillah continues as we read, "May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And on page 58, we continue. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lahodot. And on page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atah melech adon lachol hashalom. Ki atah melech adon lachol hashalom. Shalom lav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom lav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit ub'chol sha'ah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. And during this, the monsoon season, we in our community add this special prayer. We give thanks to you, Eternal One, our God, for every single drop of water which you have caused to fall upon us. Grant abundant water, for you are God who causes the wind to blow and the rain to fall. Grant it for a blessing and not for a curse, for life and not for death, for plenty and not for scarcity. And let us say, Amen. We conclude our tefillah on page 62 with a traditional reading, or on page 63 with a more creative reading, or with a prayer in our own heart. יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. Before I start this sermon, let me just say thank you to our lay leaders who have helped us this evening, and a reminder that if you would like to help lead one of our fourth Shabbat services of the month, then please let me know, and that includes giving the sermon. I say that before I share the sermon, so that after I finish the sermon, if you think I could do better than that, please do. Please do. That's a genuine invitation. So last week's Torah portion of Va'et Hanan included Shema, which focuses on love of God and thus corresponding love of other people. This week's Torah portion of Ekev also focuses on love, although it seems to mention three differing levels of love. The first level, which is evident in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 1 to 12, is love of God based on our knowledge of God's wonder. The second level, evident in verses 13 to 21, the second paragraph of Shema traditionally, explores love of God out of fear of punishment. And the third level, verses 22 to 25, describes love of God in the belief that it will bring reward. The first level of love of God is almost certainly the loftiest. This is love of God because we can look back at the past and see that God has been part of our lives, and love God because of this awareness. There is no expectation from this love. We don't expect reward. We don't love out of fear or punishment. We love God because we realize that without God, we just wouldn't be here. We love God because of the wonder of our existence. And this is the level of loving God that is most accessible to Jews today, I would say, who may not specifically use God language, but who can appreciate the wonders of their lives and be thankful for them. I use God language because I'm a rabbi. Or maybe I'm a rabbi because I use God language. Maybe. The second level of love is the level that was actually removed from this Siddur. And that's the second paragraph of Shema, which is traditionally read quietly because we don't want to vocalize the punishments that might befall us if we stray from God. Perhaps another subconscious reason is that we know that this isn't actually an ideal expression of love of God. It's like the parent who holds a hand over a child to smack them and says, "Love me or else." In the modern mindset, also doesn't say much about God. So it's perfectly understandable that the Mishkan Tefillah Siddur removed it entirely. This is the form of love that is more covenantal than emotional, though. Just as ancient political agreements would talk of the smaller nation loving the protecting nation, loving that nation meant showing dedication towards that nation for their awesome power and protection, so here we see the same. This understanding of love may seem colder than the emotional love that we're used to, but it certainly makes sense given the context, because it's not possible to command emotional love. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, you shall love the eternal your God. But it is possible to command love as expressed through service. The third level of love is, I think, the lowest. It's still love of God, which is good, but it's not the ideal way. And this is the level from verses 22 onwards, which tells us that if we love God, then God will perform wonders for us. It's love, but only for a reward, which I would suggest is not a very pure expression of love at all. Looking through these three levels of love, then, we see love of God based on thanks for our lives, which is the closest form of love to emotional love. And then there is love of God who dominates and protects us, which is more like love based on fear. And finally, there is love not for God, but for our own benefit. Before and this week, I've spoken about love of God, despite the fact it's not actually a very common topic in contemporary Reform circles, where a lot of people openly talk about not believing in God in any traditional sense. If people don't believe in God, or at least in a supernatural God, then love of God seems to become an almost totally irrelevant concept. I would suggest that for way too long, Jews picked up on the Christian polemic that Christianity is about love, whereas Judaism is about service. But I profoundly disagree. Do we perform mitzvot because we think there will be a reward? Do we perform mitzvot because we fear being punished? Or do we perform mitzvot because we love to? We love our tradition. We love the fact that it takes us outside ourselves and it connects us to something greater or someone greater than ourselves. We love our rituals. We love our religious community. I actually think the key to regenerating the diminishing worldwide Jewish community is to reinterpret love of God and love of Judaism. In his Mishnah Torah, Moses Maimonides lists the mitzvot, the commandments, and the first four that he gives, and the order here is important. The first four Maimonides gives are, number one, to know that there is a God. Number two, not to entertain thoughts of other gods. Number three, to know that God is one. That's last week's Torah portion. And number four, to love God, which is last week's and this week's Torah portion. The first three are foundations: to know that there is a God, to know there are no others, to know that God is one. That's foundational rabbinic Jewish knowledge. What's the first thing that Maimonides says we should do once we've established that foundational knowledge? Love God. Love of God comes before serving God. Love of God comes before loving each other. And this love of God that Maimonides talks about is love of God based entirely on the knowledge of God. It's not based on fear, and it's not based on a promise of reward. It's love of God simply because God brought us into existence and constantly renews creation every single day, as our liturgy says. It's the first form of love from this week's Torah portion. Very often in the Jewish community, people talk about tradition. People say they perform specific Jewish customs because they were traditions handed down to them. When you think about it, though, not everything that was handed down to you from previous generations is actually something that you yourself continue. There are reasons why we continue some family traditions, and they are very similar to the reasons for loving God in this week's Torah portion. The first reason is simply because we love them. They're part of our past, which we cherish. That's a very pure reason. People who think like this spend the week as a family looking forward to Shabbat. They sing songs, they talk, they pray. The second reason some people continue traditions is because they feel that if they don't, bad things will happen. People who think like this force the family to sit together over a Shabbat table so the children don't go out or fall away from the faith. Very often, in such a mindset, tradition is used as a stick to beat the next generation over the head with. It's a form of guilt trip. The third reason that some people continue traditions is because they're looking forward towards the future. They don't do it for themselves, but only to inspire the children. And at least the intention is there, but in fact, it's now becoming more and more clear that that actually doesn't work. That children are in fact inspired by our own example of love of God, not by creating Judaism just for them, which is often being called pediatric Judaism. If children see that we don't love God, then they won't either. And my hope is that everyone here in this wonderful Kabbalat Shabbat service is not here because they feel compelled to be here, but because they love to be here. We love Shabbat, love our community. We love our community and love each other. Coming to Shabbat services is an expression of love. Love of community, love of each other by supporting each other in prayer. And, to return to the original theme, it's also a way of expressing love of God. So we can love God because we think it will bring us favor. We can love God because we're afraid not to. But ultimately, it's almost certainly best to love God simply because we are here. Because God brought us to this point, to this community, to this Shabbat, to this moment. Our prayers are not only a statement about God, but also a statement about us, and what it means for us to love life. That is ultimately what love of God means. Love of life, and thanks for being alive. And so, for that miracle of our continued existence, may we all always love God and thank God, and let us say, turn to page 253. Page 253, as we think of those within our community and outside our community in need of healing, comfort, and support at this time. Bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. At this time, we pray in particular for healing, for comfort, and for support for Leah Bat Gershon Vuudia, for Joyce Weiser, Mick Brown, Nora Gluck, Jane Siegel, Carl Stalnacker, Ellen Lowenberg, Steve and Sherry Harwitt, Jan Simonoff, Frank Remnant, Barbara Meyer, Carol Rudman, Jane Hochberg, Carlos Villarreal and Gary Polkowitz, as well as for Susan and Frank Sanansky, Jim Simmons, Catherine Werner, Adrian Gross, Sheila Staldo, Scott Lewis, Sophie Hochberg-Farah, Ingrid Gustafsson, Jerry Steinberg, Vegi Marks, James Hetherington, Sandra Levine, Martha Ramirez, Cindy Pabst, Ann Lessa, Kathy Romero, Maria Romero, Marsha Landry, Carmen Rodriguez, and Jerry Newry. If there's anyone here who knows of anyone else in need of healing, comfort, and support at this time, please feel free to share their name out loud. Baruch atah Adonai, Rafei HaChalim. Blessed are you, God, who brings healing to the sick. Yishe berach imotenu mekor habracha li'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We wish refuah shelema, complete and total healing and comfort and support to all those who we have named and to all those whom we hold in our hearts. Before we start our concluding prayers, some things to let you know. Torah study is 9 a.m. tomorrow, live and on Zoom. It's live in the social hall and on Zoom. If you want to look at the link, it's on our website, sftbs.org. The topic is preparing for Elul. Why might we want to prepare for the month that prepares us for Rosh Hashanah? And how might we do that? I'll share a little thing with you, which is I created that topic and I shared it with Faith, who put it in the e-digest, and then Faith came in with the list of service times and everything else for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and I went, I am not ready to do that right now. And I thought, I should probably come to this session that I'm leading on preparing for the month that prepares us for the High Holy Days, because it's coming very quickly. But we do encourage you, it's particularly focusing on Psalm 27, which is a traditional psalm that we recite during the month of Elul, which contains 13 mentions of God, and we connect it with the 13 attributes of God and so on. It's actually very interesting Torah study. So join us tomorrow, live and on Zoom. And then after that, our Shabbat morning service will be at the regular time of 10:30. Our religious school classes resume on September the 8th, only days away. If you have any questions, please get in touch with Brian Searle, our new Director of Education. September the 7th, please put this in your calendars. September the 7th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. It's a Saturday, so Saturday, September 7th, SSS. Saturday, September the 7th, 5:30 till 7, we're having Havdalathon. It's a Havdalathon here. The idea is to get as many people as possible to gather together to enjoy the wonderful ritual of Havdalah at the end of Shabbat, and then we have a meal together. Please reply to faith@info@sftbs.org if you want to come. You can see more information about the Havdalathon on our e-digest. And High Holy Days are late this year. There's a whole thing about wizards and the High Holy Days, that they're never early, never late. They arrive exactly when they should. You're looking at me like you're confused. It's Lord of the Rings, surely. Right, now he gets it. So the High Holidays are never early, they're never late. But this year, in relation to the secular calendar, they're very late. Rosh Hashanah is October the 2nd. So Yom Kippur is the middle of October, and wait till you get to Hanukkah, because that's extraordinary. It's so late, it's way into January. Members in good standing will receive their tickets for the High Holy Days in mid-September Please make sure you've sent in your dues commitment letter before that. If you have any questions about that, or if you want to speak to Wendy Steinberg, our executive director, you can call her at the office. And I want to share something, which is a number of people have asked. This isn't an announcement per se, it's a good thing to know. A number of people have asked about what's our community doing to combat anti-Semitism. And how do I put this? 2 years ago, I met with representatives of the Santa Fe Public Schools to say, how are you addressing anti-Semitism in public schools? And the response was slow. I had another meeting a year later. The response was slow. The meeting that I had this week was extremely productive. I happened to call in somebody from the Senate to sit in on the meeting as well, and that changed everything. And so it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so I just wanted people to know that I'm going to be creating a training session for all teachers in the Santa Fe Public Schools on how to identify anti-Semitism and how to deal with it in an appropriate way. I'm going to be using resources from other places as well, of course, but I thought it was really important to know, what does our community do, not just to take care of our members, but to take care of everyone in Santa Fe, to help develop Santa Fe. We've worked a lot in the public schools to address anti-Semitism. I've gone into different schools and actually spoken to the students, but the teachers have never been trained on it. They've been trained on how to identify racism and homophobia and so on, but never actually how to identify anti-Semitism and what to do with it. And so that's on its way as a result of our community, which I think is really important to know. You don't have to thank me. It's our community. That's what we do. On page 283, 284, and 287, we look forward to a better world. Maybe that's a nice segue in. We look forward to a better world, a world when we can all come together with the prayer known as Aleinu. We invite you to rise, page 283, 284, and 287. Shema, O Shema, O Shema, O Shema, Echad. Please be seated, albeit for a moment, as we turn to page 294, page 294. As we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, As we remember also those who died at this season in years past, and also those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. And I will share the names of those being remembered by our community. If I share the name of a loved one, we invite you to rise and to remain standing as you are able. And after I've shared the names of those being remembered by our community, if you are also remembering someone at this time, then we invite you to also rise and to share their name. So we remember on their yard sites, Lucille Adolph, Tom Bear, James Bell, Sonia Bernstein, Irv Bernstein, Mark Cooper, Alvin Dietelbaum, Robert DeVoe, Andrea Doran, Sharon Grant, Helen Grunstein, Leah Hochbergu-Satan, Bobby Moore, Oscar Pinsky, Maurice Polkowitz, Frida Rosen, Marjorie Wheeler-Schaefer, Sophie Schwab, Thea Stern, William Surath, and Jack Hall. Is anyone else remembering anyone at this time? Please rise and share their name. Invite the rest of the community to rise in support of our mourners, who on page 294 lead us by saying, Yitgada, Amen. Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba Mavarach La'alam Ulamaya Omaya. Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitba'a, Vitromam, Vitnase, Vitada, Vitale, Vitalau, Shemei di Kudusha, Berichu, Leila Minko Berchata, Vishirata, Tushbechata, Venechemata, Damiran Ba'alma Vim. Amen. Yehi Shalom Araba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Yisrael. Amen. Say Shalom B'moma, Uya say Shalom, Aleinu V'al Yisrael. Amen. Please be seated. Oh, say Shalom B'moma, oh, Ya say Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. Zichronam livracha, and memories will always be for a blessing. We round off our service on page 332, page 332, Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh, Avarachaman, Meshoch Avdecha, Eretzonecha, Yarutz Avdecha, Kamoaya, Yishachaveh, El Mul Hadarecha, Yeravlo, Yedidutecha, Minofetzuv, V'chol Ta'am, Hadunah, Ziv Ha'olam, Nafshi Cholat Ahavatecha, Ana Elna Rafana Lam, Beharot La Noam Zivecha, Az Titchazek V'titrapeh, V'hayatala Simchat Olam, V'tik Yehemuna, Rachamecha, V'chusana, Abeinahu V'cha, Ki נחשפתי לראות בתפארת עוזך, אנא אלי חמדת ליבי, חוסה נא ואל נא תתעלם, הגלה נא ופרוס חביבי עלי את סוכת שלומך, תהי ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, מהר הוא כי במועד וכוננו כי מעולם. יא לה לה יא לה יא לה לה יא 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 לה. Please rise as you are able for our concluding blessing. Yevarechenu Adonai ve'yishmerenu. May God bless us and keep us. Ya'eh Adonai panav eleinu vichunenu. May God's face shine upon us and be gracious to us. Yisa Adonai panav eleinu v'yasem lanu shalom. May God lift up the divine presence toward us and always grant us peace. Shabbat Shalom. So we invite you to remain with us for our Kiddush and then our Motzi, and that will lead us into our Oneg, and especially for those who are new to our community, we invite you to join us in our Oneg in the social hall, and for our members, we encourage you to please sit with people who you may not know, who you may have introduced yourselves to earlier on, so that they can learn more about us, and we can learn more about them, and we can share Shabbat together. Our Kiddush is on page 300 and 301. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו, סברי חברי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. And we invite you to come and hold the challah. Hold on a minute. We invite you to come and hold the challah, or hold someone holding the challah, or hold someone holding someone. Oh my God.